Franklin was a credit union operated by a man by the name of Larry King. Larry King was a fast-rising star in the Republican Party, but he also had quite an appetite for sex with little boys. And he operated a very well-tuned pornography and prostitution operation where they would use young boys from Boys Town. As this was reported by many victims that came forward, approximately 80 children came forward, all naming names in Omaha, Nebraska. This was all part of and tied to Johnny's kidnapping. And then I began to recall, 11 years later, that shortly after Johnny was kidnapped, about 3 weeks, there had been an article in the Des Moines Register, and there were 2 young girls taken from Des Moines. They were aged 13 and 14. They were taken to Omaha, and they were put into a pornography ring. They were found, they were returned to Des Moines, and the men were arrested. I took that clipping from the newspaper, and I went to our police chief, and I asked him to investigate it. And he looked at me and he said, I don't have a feel for that, so I'm not going to do anything. I asked him to call the police chief of Omaha just to ask about it. Since Omaha was 2 hours away from Des Moines, that could be feasible that they could have come from Omaha to Des Moines to take these girls. They certainly could have taken my son too. Still, I could get no help from the police. I went to the FBI office and asked the same question. They told me they would not do it. So at that point, I did what the only thing I could think of to do, and that was to call a press conference. And when I did, I read the clipping from the paper, and I said to everyone that would listen, the reaction of the police chief and the FBI, that they would not even check out this lead. 4 days after I did that TV interview, I received the first of many death threats. And the man that called me on the phone said, if you don't stop rocking the boat and making waves, you're going to die. And I remember sitting back after I got the phone call and thinking, what boat did I rock? What wave did I make? The wave was asking about Omaha. I was knocking on the back door of the Franklin Credit Union scandal years before the story broke. And the authorities here in Des Moines were not about to let this story break. They were not about to solve Johnny's case. I later found out that our police chief, Orville Cooney, was very good friends with Robert Wadman, who is the police chief in Omaha, Nebraska. They had many parties, orgies, if you will, where they used young boys and girls. Our police chief would travel to Omaha to the parties with Bob Wadman. Bob Wadman was accused of getting one young girl, Alicia Owen, pregnant during one of these episodes. So then it began to make perfect sense to me why our police chief told people to go home at the search site that Johnny was a runaway, why the police chief would not investigate the possible Omaha connection. He was involved with the same people. Now, as sick as that made me feel, I at least knew what I was dealing with. I at least knew what my obstacles were and what I had to continue to do. And I had to continue to keep Johnny's story alive, letting everybody in America know what was happening and that children were being ripped off the streets. At that point, I organized the Johnny Gosch Foundation, and I developed a program called In Defense of Children. And I went on the road. I went on the road speaking in churches, schools, civic organizations, network TV shows. I gave over 700 speeches in 5 years' time. I gave up what I used to call my or any type of recreation or enjoyment. I threw myself into this effort. During this time, I drafted and wrote pieces of legislation for the state of Iowa, which I got passed into law. And those laws were patterned for other states concerning missing and abused children. So, to me, Johnny's kidnapping had to stand for something. He was gone, but there had to be some degree of progress that was made in the system because of what happened to him. And it was my job to do it. And I knew that. The speeches and all of the things that I was doing were constantly keeping his name out there. The awareness level was staying up. Every time I did a TV show or a speech, leads and information would trickle in for our investigators to look over and begin to work on. Slowly, piece by piece, we were able to put this huge jigsaw puzzle together and finally know what happened to Johnny Gosch and why and who's responsible and how they profited off of many young children. Kitty porn is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country. The only reason that it is because of supply and demand and supply. Somebody has to supply the children to the pedophiles who have the yen or young children and the money to pay for it. My son just happened to be one of them.